opportunities for our chambers. This is again our way to stay connected, our way to share useful information, and to keep the ball moving, if you will, for Black businesses in the state of Texas. This morning, our focus is on the Build Back Better bill. And there's a lot of good stuff that's in that bill. It's complicated. It's a lot to it. I'm sure you all have been following it on the news, etc. So we want to be able to share more information and details about that with you all. That was one of the things that was identified as a key point for us for this year. So I want to turn it over to our president, Charles O'Neill, who'll share a little bit more and hopefully give us some more details on our guest speaker.
Yeah, good morning again. Thank you, Madam Chair. As Madam Chair noted, we are excited again because it looks like about a year ago, about this time, we had invited Congressman Veasey as well on another issue that we had with the Texas legislature. So we really, there he is now. So I won't go through the whole spiel, but there is Congressman Veasey. Thank you so much for taking time out this morning. Y'all, today is the first day of early voting. He not only is at work as a congressman, but he's in the middle of a re-election campaign. He does have an opponent this year, but nonetheless, he finds time for Texas Association of African American Chambers, and we really appreciate it, Congressman Veasey. Our interest this morning, much like I was just telling them, we talked to you about a year ago now about another issue we were having with the state legislature. So this year, what we'd like to hear is your interpretation of some of the opportunities that exist in the infrastructure bill and some of the logjam stuff that we hope will materialize from the Build Back Better bill. And then as we go through, we'll have some questions because as you're aware, and for those of you who do know, Congressman Veasey served in the state legislature as well. He understands how Austin works, or in our case, fails to work for the benefit of Black-owned businesses. And so we'd like your insight too on some of the things that we can do in the state of Texas to improve outcomes for Black-owned businesses. Unfortunately for us, the last reporting cycle for hub utilization, we have to round up to hit 1% for Black-owned businesses in a state with the largest Black population. That's just criminal. And so once again, Congressman Veasey, thank you so much for taking time out with us. Give us your insight, if you will, on the infrastructure bill, because I think the Texas allocation is something north of $30 billion that should result in some opportunities for Black-owned businesses. And then clearly Build Back Better, when it's passed in its fullness, will have more opportunities for us, and we want to be prepared for that. So the floor is yours, and thank you again for joining us today.
Absolutely. Well, good to be with you today. And you're right. This is a historic time. I mean, we passed really the largest infrastructure bill. You'd really have to go back to the 1950s when the Federal Highway Aid Act was passed, when Dwight Eisenhower was president, to see this large of an investment in our public's infrastructure. As a matter of fact, right next door to you, here in Fort Worth, we had $400 million to do a flood control project known as the Trinity River Vision here in Fort Worth. And not only is it going to create safety, because as our city grows, we certainly need more flood protection, but it's also going to create a lot of developable land around this project that will bring money to the center city. And we want to make sure that when these projects get passed, when they come to fruition, that Black-owned businesses are included in part of that vision. And not just with the infrastructure bill that was passed, but as you mentioned, the Build Back Better agenda too. We haven't been able to get that passed yet. Hopefully we can get some pieces of it passed, because really what the Build Back Better does is that it supports families. And I know that the chamber is interested in being able to grow Black entrepreneurs. And what Build Back Better does, in my opinion, is that it provides some support so you can be willing to take that risk to go out there and be an entrepreneur and get into some of these fields where we're woefully underrepresented when it comes to large infrastructure and other public endeavors. There's a lot of risks that's involved with being an entrepreneur. I think that everybody on the call would agree with that. But if we're able to pass Build Back Better, you'll at least have that safety net there when it comes to things like expanded childcare, for instance. That's going to be absolutely incredible. And that's why we need to make sure that some of those components stay in there, even if we don't pass the full Build Back Better bill. We need it to help us in the same sort of way that this infrastructure bill, this historic infrastructure bill that passed, certainly did. And going back to the infrastructure bill, it's really not just, a flood control project here. I mean, it's really historic in the sense that a lot of the lead pipes in our neighborhoods and in our schools, there's money in there to be able to remedy that. There's going to be money for new surface transportation. There's going to be money for things like light rail projects. And again, we want to make sure that Black-owned businesses get a piece of that pie. It's totally unacceptable what you see in TxDOT as far as our numbers are concerned. Even when you look at, if you look at the amount of MWBE money that TxDOT sets aside, even we get the bottom piece of that. Most of us are not getting our fair share when it comes to the dollars that are designated for MWBE. And so we need to continue to push on this front. We need to continue to make sure that people realize that this is a hugely important issue. It's something that's just not talked about a lot. And some of these other issues, I certainly believe that they're important, the ones that you hear on the news all the time. I'm not going to try to downgrade anyone's movement or any sort of social advocacy that people have in other areas. But when it comes to opportunity, when it comes to Black-owned businesses and things like that, we need to make sure that this is a subject and a topic that is at the top of the agenda. Because as far as I'm concerned, some of these other issues that we talk about, some of those things would be more easily remedied or taken care of if this topic that we're talking about here today were to get more of the attention that it deserves. I don't know why it is that some people feel uncomfortable talking about money and people feel uncomfortable talking about growing wealth, generational wealth opportunities, but I don't. And it's just simply not talked about enough. And we're going to continue to be in this slump if we do not elevate this issue to the level and the status that it deserves.
Okay. One thing, Congressman, that will certainly impact our ability in Texas. About a month ago, Governor Abbott sent a letter to all state agency directors, and I'll say admonishing them almost. He directed them not to apply for any federal funding because federal funding has, quote unquote, too many strings attached to it. In fact, he went further to say, if an agency believed that additional federal funding would help them advance their mission, that they should go ahead and fill out their application, but to send it to him first to see if he approved it, and he would forward it on to the appropriate federal agency. When I hear too many strings, I think, well, that means if you use federal funds, you got to support MWBEs or hubs in the case of Texas, and he's against that. It works just diametrically against all of us, all of our efforts. How do we combat that in this highly charged political time?
Yeah, absolutely. And let me give some background on that, on his comments. So when the first CARES package was passed, which was great. I mean, in some of the communities that I represent in Tarrant County, for instance, we were able to use some of that money. The Fort Worth City Council was designated some of the money I was able to put in the CARES package for them to be able to give broadband or Wi-Fi, free broadband
Mhm.
to certain low-income neighborhoods in Fort Worth. But it wasn't an issue for Fort Worth and Dallas, because if your city had over 500,000 people in it, the money went directly to the cities. As of today, the cities of Grand Prairie and the city of Irving, both of which are in the district that I serve, they still have not received any of their CARES money. And so in the subsequent packages that were passed, we made sure that there were ways, as much as we possibly could, where you could bypass the state and the money could go directly to where it was needed. And so he was a little upset about that. They tried to get the Republicans to vote against the next CARES package that passed because he wanted to be able to control that money the way that he wishes to, and it's unfair to withhold that money from entities that need it. And like you said, for small business or MWB businesses, being able to tap into this money is going to be extremely important. And so I would tell agencies that are thinking about not applying for the money that they should absolutely ignore that. The governor's probably trying to posture so he can, get his Republican presidential aspirations in the primary in order. But I would tell those agencies that no, they need that money. By them not using that money today, it could certainly hurt in them being able to get money tomorrow. And as you know, with the rate at which our state is growing, we are in desperate need of as much money as we can possibly get.
Right.
Because if you look at the projections from now until 2040, 2050, the growth here is not going to stop anytime soon.
One that really just popped up, and it's one of those kind of hidden deals. The Treasury Department has a program called State Small Business Credit Initiative. And again, the Texas allocation, in my little non-scientific research, is about $472 million. The fear, or the really troubling part about this allocation is that in all likelihood, it will go directly to the governor's office for small business and economic development, which means it gets bottlenecked or throttled in that. And so this money is already allocated. I just don't believe that certainly the people that we work for will ever see the benefit of that amazing, almost $500 million that would just go to programs like we tried to put together with Unity National Bank, a small business loan fund, expressly for that purpose. And it doesn't look like it's going to be get unjammed again, certainly until we get a new governor.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, you should definitely, and the same thing with everyone else on here that has, their members of relationship they have with their members of Congress. When issues like this come up, because I've not specifically heard of this one, but that's the sort of thing that we'll want to make an inquiry on and send a letter out to find out from the federal agency, hey, these monies or these funds are not being distributed, and then if we have to, write a letter to the governor where we get the delegation to sign on, where I get, me and Eddie Bernice and Sheila, get everybody to sign on to a letter saying, hey, we need these funds to be dispersed to small businesses in our districts so they can be helped. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, good deal. I did speak with Representative Reynolds on last Wednesday about that. And so we finally got some traction with Texas Legislative Black Caucus on the issue.
Good.
So I guess that letter will be forthcoming. And if we get the TLBC and our congressional delegation, we could get some movement. So that's good news. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
It would be critical because it would function much like I'll call it a honeypot that he uses to attract large industries to the state that organizations like TAC could literally help direct how these funds are utilized or deployed across the state. So certainly could be a benefit, huge benefit for us.
Absolutely.
Mhm. Other questions for Congressman? He's got a very tight window. He's been gracious with his time this morning, but we do want to give you an opportunity to ask questions for him. I ask that you put them in the chat first. If you don't, or just raise your hand. Madam Chair, would you like to go?
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Congressman, for always being available to us. We really appreciate you and wish you all the best. And you have our full
Thank you.
support on your re-election. I have a quick question about the MBDA. So my understanding is that the MBDA is going to receive a lot of these resources
Absolutely.
from the infrastructure bill. Any words of wisdoms or advice you have for us on how our chambers can connect in to those MBDA centers?
I haven't seen any of the, rulemaking on exactly how that's going to work, because that's a historic amount of money that they're receiving
Yes.
to be able to help minority-owned businesses. And I don't exactly know how that's going to work. Sometimes it takes them a while to be able to craft those rules and to come up with how that is going to be spent. But I will definitely let Texas Association of African American Chambers of Commerce know when I get more clarification on that, because that was one of those areas in the bill that wasn't talked about a lot, but it's very significant.
It is. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that.
It's hugely significant.
Thank you for your willingness to keep us informed on that. So thank you. Thank
Absolutely.
you again for joining us.
Absolutely. Good to be with you today.
One benefit that we've been not actively involved, but we've been actually associated with the effort to strengthen MBDA through our relationship with the U.S. Black Chambers. As an outgrowth of that, TAC is one of the spokes for the U.S. Black Chambers Community Navigator program from SBA. So we're early in the implementation of that funding, but it looks like that is one area that we will see some benefit from SBA support for small businesses in the state of Texas. Again, it's very early in it, but it's a 2-year commitment from SBA to the U.S. Black Chambers and further to TAC for us to improve our outreach activities, much like this morning, technical assistance, and other support for small business, including and up to assisting them with loan packaging for presentation to SBA funders. And so we're kind of excited, really excited about that, because it does strengthen us organizationally, but it certainly makes a new, wider range of resources available to Texas Black-owned businesses.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Other questions? I see one in the chat. How do we find out how to access these funds for our chamber members? I think that one we'll save, not going to burden the Congressman with that, but we will absolutely, as we move forward with him enlightening us to the expanded opportunities from MBDA, as we go forward and learn the machine, the technical intricacies of our Community Navigator program, we'll have access to these wider funds for our members. And so,
right.
But we'll address that in future Monday morning momentum sessions.
Yeah, and it is, like I mentioned earlier, it's some of the provisions in the bill are great, and there just have not been anything that we've seen like this, especially when it comes to the investments that we're seeing made for agencies that are particularly crafted to just help minority-owned businesses. We haven't seen that before, but we do need to make sure that once these rulemaking this rulemaking process comes out and we see how these funds are being distributed, that we make sure that area chambers and statewide chambers really know about these so they can take full advantage of it. I mean, we want to make sure that we seize this opportunity because we don't know when we'll see something like this again. We're obviously, as a Congressional Black Caucus, collectively will continue to fight to make sure that we get provisions like this in major pieces of legislation. But we don't know when this opportunity is going to come again. And so we need to make sure that we take advantage of right now.
There's one other area not directly related to business opportunities, so to speak, but certainly does impact our ability going forward, both organizationally and as a general population of Black folk in the state of Texas. What's your latest insight on the voter suppression lawsuit? I think MALDEF is in early, NAACP has
right.
We just about got gerrymandered out of existence in this last map that was drawn. Yeah. What's the status of that from your perspective?
It's going to be a lengthy court battle for all of those things. A lot of people, need to understand just how bad that was when the Roberts Court several years ago struck down Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act. And basically what the concurring opinion said was that it should be up to Congress to strengthen Section 5, and that the court found that the part of the, I think it was Section 3 or Section 4, that was what gave teeth to Section 5. They basically said that that part was unconstitutional and that was up to Congress to fix it. And so without any kind of pre-clearance, getting a speedy trial, being able to stop maps from or voting laws from being put into place before they're pre-cleared, that no longer exists. And so now Republican legislatures around the country, particularly in the Old South, they can pass these laws without any sort of worry that they can be prevented unless you go through a lengthy court battle. And my guess is that that the voter ID bill, not the voter ID bill, but the voter suppression bill that they just passed, and these maps, that it could be well over a year or longer. People have to remember that last time around, when the 2012 maps were passed, they were under litigation until 2018. And luckily, because we still had Section 5 in place, we were able to get some of those things remedied before the 2012 elections. Like the seat that I'm in, for instance, it was drawn to be a heavily Republican seat. And so they changed that. But it's serious. It's real. And us not having the Voting Rights Act and Section 5 in particular in place is, it's not good at all. And Charles, I have time for one more question, but I gotta hop on another Zoom here.
Problem at all. Anyone else have a question for the Congressman? If not, I'll just say, I again, thank you so much, Congressman, for making this window available for us. We're going to continue our meeting after you leave, but I want you to know that, again, as Madam Chair said, you have our full support. If there's a way that we can be supportive of you, let us know. And we certainly will be calling on you as we need more info. It really, really, really is enlightening for our members as we learn to better utilize our advocacy voice. Relationships like this with you strengthens our resolve, number one, but it gives us a better insight into the way we have to fight for the people that we work for. So thank you so much for this morning.
Absolutely. Good to see you. The wife says hello, and I look forward to breaking bread with the chamber anytime.
Thank you so much, Congressman. Take care. Good luck in your election.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
That's it. All right. I think that was enlightening.
Definitely Monday morning momentum for sure. to be able to hear from a sitting congressman that's on our side, fighting every day for the same things that we believe in. So definitely a positive way to kick off the morning. Thank you, Mr. President, for getting that set up for us.
Yes, ma'am. And as I mentioned to him, I did meet with Representative Reynolds last week in Austin. He is aware of Governor Abbott's sitting on this $472 million. We have reached out to the Adriana Cruz, who runs the small business office in the governor's office. She has been friendly to us, at least receptive to our efforts to contact or stay in contact with her in the past, though I have not heard back from her. I reached out to her on last Thursday, copied Representative Reynolds and who in fact is the incoming chair of TLBC. So that's good news as well.
Yes.
Other questions, other interests, areas of focus that we need to be addressing from those on the call, or anything that you heard from Congressman that kind of piqued your interest. We do expect clearly the biggest areas of attention on the infrastructure bill have been in highway construction. That's the huge, biggest piece of that deal as far as Texas is concerned. So TxDOT has been central in the effort to, so it's very interesting. If I take a side note real quick, if Abbott is saying, don't take the federal money, but the big highway guys are saying, give us all the money we can possibly get. But let's not support the growth and development of Black-owned businesses while we take this $30+ billion. So we got to be really vigilant on what's going on down there in those state agencies, and that nail in the coffin deal that he sent to agency directors is just out of the box. We got to do something about that. We got to fight that. I will like I said, just expand just a bit on the Community Navigator program. As I mentioned, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of detail. Matt Houston, our vice chair, is working with me on that. We had one call on last Thursday. We have another one scheduled this Thursday to get more background on implementation of the grant. It is by far the biggest grant that TAC has participated in. It does give us an opportunity to strengthen our organization, the organization itself, and allow us to engage vendors and support of the work that we do. I think it'll be a boon for us. We'll get to make our website a little more interactive than it currently is, and it is certainly light years improvement from websites in the past. But this one will allow us to expand the use of digital communications for training purposes, and allow us again to engage on a more frequent basis with the 25 Black chambers across the state. So we're really looking forward to that. The one other program that USBC, US Black Chambers, is really trying to put some energy behind is the Buy Black certification. It is our effort to break Black-owned businesses out of this umbrella designation, MWBE or hub. And we really, I certainly believe we should support that effort. Buy Black, BYBLACK.US is where you can go and learn more about it. or go through the U.S. Black Chamber's website and click the Buy Black button. But I know that American Express, Wells Fargo, and several state federal agencies have agreed to accept the Buy Black certification. And so what we're attempting to do is make the Buy Black certification weigh the same thing in the marketplace as an MSNBC or the National Minority Supplier Development certification, and in the state of Texas, the hub designation. And so that we can get a badge on your website or on your communications that you are a Buy Black certified business, that it will serve the same purpose in the marketplace as those other alphabet soup designations. And so we want to, as best we can, and we will use the Community Navigator program to help shore up our efforts to get as many Black-owned businesses in the state of Texas engaged in the Buy Black platform. And okay, Mr. Sims says, do we know a good electronic way to distribute petitions for change across chambers? And you turn your camera on and ask that question, and we'll engage everybody in on that question. I want to know if you're specific about change in the electoral process or change in the way we chambers approach our business.
Yeah, some more information.
Okay, so just period in general, anytime we're trying to get information in a collective support, I know there has to be some electronic ways that we can get that representation faster, right? Within the chamber, and also working with other chamber, of our chamber groups.
Okay.
So I'm just curious about looking into that.
Yeah. And that's a good question. We know we do have, I think now, again, the best relationship we've ever had with a provider on the digital platform side. Daniel Griggs, you guys have heard from him a couple of times. We will expand, and I'll talk to him this week and see if we can get some kind of polling or surveying instrument out there on our website, or something that we can blast out to all chambers. That's a good question, Ted. Thank you so much for that. Good to see you too, by the way.
Absolutely.
Ted has agreed, as he has in the past, to help us with our efforts to get a chamber jump started in the Golden Triangle. And so we appreciate that, Ted. We'll be back with you on that directly. We've had some conversations with the group down there. I noticed that Beaumont actually has a website up now for a Black Chamber of Commerce. I did send an email to the address that I found on the website. Got no response from it just yet. I can't think of the sister's name, but I'll go back out there and resend that and copy you, and I'll copy you, Madam Chair, and we'll see if we can get some traction with that communication as well. But we'll find out something this week on how we might again craft some way to address your question, Ted. That's a good one.
Just more over there. I just think that if we're going to double down on some of these positions to make sure that our businesses have access to the resources available, we need to show in numbers. And sometimes if we just show up in person, right, you get an impact, right? Mm-hmm. But I think when it comes to putting things forward, and we're showing that we have support behind these positions, I think that it's time to embrace a better way that we can get the information out to people and get that support.
Okay, good deal.
Yeah, what I really start thinking about, Mr. Sims, when you say that, is about building a database. And I know our new website for TAC will let us do that, but building a database that'll let us reach our people quickly. If there's something message that needs to get out and we need to mobilize quickly, do we have that technology tool in place that allow us to reach folks and get something to their inbox, instantaneously. But I know the new technology that we've invested in with the website will allow us to actually do that. We will have to have the chambers participate by giving us email addresses, et cetera, to put in there. But that's the goal, is to be able to quickly poll, quickly mobilize. If we need to be in Austin in 48 hours for something, we want to build it to that point where we can. Right now, our method is going through each chamber. But of course, we have to go through the chambers, then the chambers have to get to your communication mechanisms in place to get it out. But we're hoping to kind of build a system where we can connect to everyone quicker. I definitely, just like you, definitely see the value in that.
And one thing that I would, as I always do, and I will encourage you again to, I think that calls like this morning, where we actually get to interact with an elected official, that could help underscore what Ted has addressed. I think your peers in the chamber of business around the state not being on this call is a call for each of you to contact. And we got everybody's email address in the email that you saw, and say, man, why, sister girl, why weren't you on the call this morning? How would we mobilize, Ted, if everybody's not being responsive to opportunities like this? And so going forward, I think that we've got to also do the internal searching of why 6, 7 people can get on a call, recognize how the critical nature of that call, and then there's 19 folk out there who said, I was busy this morning, or maybe, Madam Chair, maybe they were busy delivering chocolate this morning. I don't know. It might be a Valentine's Day thing. That's important too. But
that's important. If mama not happy, nobody happy.
Sure.
Well, Matt is technically our vice chair over there, maybe delivering the baby today. So we'll see.
That's right. But if there are not other questions, I know, Madam Chair, thank you again for breaking up your day this morning and getting on despite everything else that's going on. Any updates from anybody before we shut down this morning? I would really, really, really encourage you to reach out to other chambers across the state. Let them know what it is that we discussed this morning, and how critical it is that we be supportive of each other. And the best demonstration of that kind of support is there being on a call like this on a second Monday of each month. We can add in frequency as we move forward, but it does take some energy and effort to snag a U.S. Congressperson that's in the middle of an election battle. But that's the kind of effort that we're putting in on a regular basis on behalf of Black-owned businesses in the state. And we want to be able to continue that. But I think evidence that everybody understands that would be their presence on the call. And so, again, thank everybody for being on the call. If you don't have other announcements, we'll be back with you again, at least by the second Monday in March. In the interim, as announcements come forward, as we get more information on the Community Navigator program, we'll forward that out to you as well. Please, by all means, if there is something that we can do to assist you in your local markets, give us a call, shoot an email or text. You all have my cell phone number. We'll do whatever we can to be supportive of you in your local markets as well.
I have an announcement.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, this is Coretta Cram from Corpus Christi Black Chamber of Commerce. I even sent y'all our email, our newsletter anyway. In there, we're doing a Grow with Google training. We partnered with the local Black sorority down here
Okay.
to do a Grow with Google training for Black women. And the focus is going to be on design thinking for entrepreneurs. And it's
Okay.
February 28th at 7 p.m. I did forward our newsletter with the information in there, but I'll resend the flyer.
Okay. And I'll get it up on our Facebook page, and I'll get it to Daniel and have him put up on the website as well.
Yeah, we're trying to get as many Black women, anyone can attend, but our focus is trying to get Black women, you know, involved.
Okay. Is that a virtual event or in-person event?
It's a virtual event.
Okay.
And it's at 7 p.m. on Monday, February 28th.
Very good. Very good. Other updates or announcements? And I'll certainly let you all know if Matt, they've already done a peek. It's a boy, so we know that Matt's going to have a son sometime here in the next few hours. So we'll keep you posted as we expand the chamber family as well. So if that or nothing else, Madam Chair, I think that's about it. Y'all have go forward, be protective, and hey, Miss Andrea.
Hey, Andrea.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. President, we with Matt, we're working on the next generation of
That's right.
chamber leaders.
That's right.
Enjoy the day, everybody.
All right. Take care.
Spread some love.